Well, welcome. Um, I'm pleased. I'm pleased to have you back again. I like to talk about depression, and I understand that different people have different experiences with depression and have had different encounters with depression. It's also become a buzzword in the West. I mental health has become a catchphrase, in my opinion. Again, these are simply my opinions. I don't believe in depression. I have said that on numerous occasions. First of all, it's not a religion. It's not a belief system. It's not a God. It's not some deity that I have to look to. So I don't believe in depression. I don't think depression has any power over me. Number two, I think the power is within. The power is within me as a person, as a being, and I give my power to whatever word, name that I choose. I do not like, this is number three, I do not like the victim narrative, the feeling that perhaps there's something in the ether, something the heavens has conspired together to make my life miserable. I don't believe that. I believe in the reality that we're dealt cards, and sometimes the cards are not really great, and sometimes they are. I take the cards as they come, and I try my best to play the best hand that I can. The word depression doesn't exist in my vocabulary. Yesterday, I was speaking with a loved one, and I said, and I think it's worth sharing, I said, if you guys ever hear that something happened to me, and it was suggested that I took my own life, do not believe such a statement. Reject such a statement. I would never do that. I would never be depressed to the point where I take my own life. Now, I followed up with the following. I will do my time, and I will always pay the price. That is my makeup. I don't take the easy way out. If the heavens have dealt me the card, and suffering and pain and trauma is my lot, and that is what the heavens have decided, that is what the universe has gifted me. If by errors of omission or commission I have made mistakes, then I believe in paying the price in this life, not the next life. I don't know if there is another life. I don't know if there is another earth or another heaven. What I do know is I have this life to lead and this life, and I want to pay the price for my sins. I do not want my sins to be transferred to my children and their children's children. I believe strongly in the fact that the sins of the fathers live to the third and the fourth generation. I want to pay the price. So I will pay the price, whatever the debt might be. If anyone comes to you and says, oh, Mentor did something to himself. No. I was either called home to glory or something else. The something else will never be, he took his life because he was depressed, because of mental health. Never. What I would like to do, however, in today's conversation is speak to the feeling that people associate with the word or the term depression. That low feeling, that feeling of inadequacy, that feeling of having no sense of value or meaning, and life has no joy or purpose. I want to speak to that feeling. And I'd like to provide you with some ideas and recommendations to help you get through your Garden of Gethsemane. When you're not too sure about yourself, when you're asking for some higher power to intervene to take the pain away from you. I would like to share some ideas that I think might be able to help you. Let me start with the following. The feeling that you have would not be the same across all people. I make exceptions to the rule, but I don't dwell or speak to the exceptions, because the exception does not disprove the rule. It's the exception that actually makes the rule. Clinically speaking, perhaps 3% of the population, or less, and less, I should say, are depressed, clinically depressed. These are people who see things. They need psychotherapists, psychiatrists. These are people who hallucinate in severe form. These are people who are clinically sick. We're not speaking to those people because those people do not call themselves depressed. They do not even associate the word depression with their experience. They actually think that they are the ones living in the real state. Maybe they are. It reminds me of the movie Shutter Island. Maybe we're the ones who are the crazy ones, and those who we label as crazy are the same ones. Who knows? We'll find out in the next life, if there is another life. The majority, however, of people who call themselves depressed have a feeling within. I acknowledge that feeling, but I want to label that feeling. I don't label it depression. I don't call it mental health. I simply call it the voice in the wilderness, the calling to a higher goal, a higher ideal, a higher self. Being less than you could be can leave you with a feeling of inadequacy, a feeling of hopelessness, a feeling of sadness and frustration and pain. If you listen, you will hear the voice in the wilderness saying, "Come, my son." It's a calling to your higher self. For most people live in hell on earth. Hell on earth would simply be to meet the person, the man, the woman that you could have been. And the question normally is, if you met that person that you could have been, what would you say to them? And what would they respond back to you? That feeling of hopelessness is simply a reminder. It's a signal. It's a messenger saying, there is more to you. There is more that you can be. Your life is not over. The feeling is simply a reminder that there is more to achieve. It's a reminder that despite the pain, you should keep the faith. Fight the good fight. Get to the end. Pay the price. I had once said to a friend, I don't know for certainty that there is another heaven or another earth. I don't know. I would like to hope that if there is, then I certainly do not want to take to the next world, to the next life, my sins into that world. So I want to pay the price today. And whatever calling to greatness that I should pay in this life, I would love to pay that price. What a sad world it would be. You run away from your responsibilities, you run away from the call to greatness, you take your life in this life, and you awaken in the second life, only to realize that the same calling still remains, that you simply evaded responsibility and you must pay. It's as though you're waking up every day into the same life. You have to get it right. When you get it right, you exit. Until you get it right, you reincarnate. You come back again, play the same role and the same role. The same hand is dealt. So the feeling you might have could be a calling to greatness. A calling to say you need to serve your gifts to your community, you need to serve your gifts to your nation, and you need to serve your gifts to your people. Am I right? Who knows? But here are some recommendations of things that you could do. If you find yourself in pain, emotional pain, mental pain, psychological pain, physical pain, spiritual anxiety. Number one, join the military, join the army, join the navy, join the forces. You will have the opportunity to have structure in your life. In some cases, you will be taken away from your comfort zone. That comfort zone that allows you to look to yourself and seek for things that are not perfect. When you join the military, you find out that there's something greater than yourself, the nation state, your group, your troops, and then yourself. Join a martial arts team. If you cannot join the military, do some martial arts. Learn how to think, learn how to fight, and even go a step further. Go join a professional organization. Fight at some international, national, European, world level, and have the shit kicked out of you a few times. Many people who have never, or who complain about being depressed, have never been in a physical fight. You've never had the dryness of in your mouth. You don't understand what it means to slow down your heart rate, to pace yourself, because your opponent might have a very strong staying power. You've never had the feeling of confronting an opponent whose role and responsibility is to take you out. Those who have understand that there are more important things to life than perhaps not feeling good. You've got 2 minutes, 3 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes to settle a score within the rules of the game. It allows you to think carefully, process information, adjust, and win. And that's the key word. The military teaches you how to win. Martial arts teaches you how to win. Number two, start a business. There is no greater character building endeavor as starting a business. And I should make it clear that I'm not referring to an online business, despite it being one of many businesses. I'm not referring to businesses where you sit behind the desk and have no interactions with people and have no payroll and have nothing. Start a business, start small, start a business, but let the business be one that allows you to cater to other people so that you become responsible for payroll, for paying other people, for listening to other people's struggles, but sometimes dealing with your employees' complicated lives. Start a business. Go build something. Starting a business means you have to solve a problem. Now, number three, if you are in the STEM field, let's say you science, engineering, technology, math, I am part of that group. We are socially awkward people. Some of us who have the opportunity to interact more with people, not all engineers are not created equal. There are engineers who sit in a desk and only deal with numbers, bytes to apples, or atoms. And there are other engineers who work outside, coordinating, project managing, building structures, building infrastructure, and therefore learning how to interact with other people. The more you're facing people and client facing, the more you learn that there's something to you. There's something that comes forward as a result of that journey that you never knew existed. You learn how to negotiate, you learn how to forgive, you learn how to explain yourself and articulate yourself properly. You learn how to work towards a greater goal. You might be an engineer working for a particular company, but there are other team members all working for different companies. But collectively, you all have the same goal, outcome. You put your outcome underneath the greater outcome, and therefore you learn how to collaborate. If you are part or you were in the STEM field, you need to get out of mama and daddy's basement. Get out, make friends. I said it before, people are lonely And the most lonely people are people in relationships. You have no friends and you have no foes. People who call themselves depressed have no enemies. Joining the military means you're given a uniform and a common enemy. Joining martial arts means, for whatever reason, when you stand on the tatami or in the boxing ring or in the dojo, for a split second, the person across from you is your adversary or your enemy. You need friends, you need foes, you need both. If you lack one, something is missing. Get out of your mama's basement and your father's basement and go seek pastures new. Take on something big like Abraham. Seek new pastures like Moses. Perhaps go rescue and free the Israelites from the hands of Pharaoh and do some miracles along the way. Number 4, let go and let God. Let go and let God. Many people try too much to do things their way. My famous words to those who do is, if the yoke is too heavy, it is not for you. The universe comes to you and reminds you that you are a child of the universe and you have every right to be here. You're no less important than the stars or the sun, and certainly no less important than the trees, no less important than the birds. You were wonderfully and fearfully made. But you are intelligent. It, being the universe, is intelligent. Success occurs when both work together for the ultimate good. Sometimes you have to let go and let God. You're trying too hard. Farmers do not sit up at night thinking about how they can grow their seed. They simply go out, buy the grain, load it up in the machines, tar the soil, plant the seed, and then they go to sleep. They let go. Whilst they're sleeping, something happens. A miracle happens. Maybe God above there is the one worried about how he can make all this grain grow into crops. That is God's responsibility. If the farmer woke up the next morning, went to the same position, dug up the soil to check that the seed was growing, woke up the next day again, did the same thing, what you will find is that the seed will never grow. What happens in between seed time and harvest is letting go. You have to learn to let go. And letting go also includes forgiving yourself. Let go of your pain and your hurt and your trauma. Your parents didn't do things right, love them anyway. Forgive them. They didn't know better. Or maybe they did. Their role was to bring you into this earth. Your role is to execute. Your father fucked you up, your mom fucked you up, incest, rape, I understand. Who would you suggest to take over and to take that place instead of you? If you have names, I can write the names down. If you don't, just shut up. Those were the cards that were dealt to you for a purpose. So that you can come forward at some point in time and say, despite all of my sufferings, despite all of the trauma, look what I made of my life. So that in the end, the words, well done, good and faithful servant, is what you would hear. Let go, let God, forgive, move on. Number 5, avoid TV if you can. Start with 30 days. And if you make it to day number 30, extend it by 30 days. And if you make it to day number 30, extend again by 30 days until you get to 365 days. That's 1 year. I haven't had a television for 15 years, almost 15 years. Now, this does not mean I don't watch TV. But if I don't have a TV, then it means 99.99% of my time is not spent watching television. Sometimes I go to people's homes I go to occasions where I see a TV is on and I look, but I have no attachment emotionally to a TV. If you watch the news, you are misinformed. If you do not watch the news, you are uninformed. I chose a long time ago that I would rather be like a bumblebee, intelligently ignorant. Now, according to the laws of thermodynamics, a bumblebee does not know that it should not be able to fly. Its wings are so tiny, so small, pitiful. We look at the bumblebee and we say, how cute. It's a shame it can't fly. The bumblebee does not know because it's not feeding into its head or mind all the nonsense that we hear every day about you not being good enough, not being adequate, or comparing you to another, or presenting to you things that you haven't achieved. The bumblebee does not know. So, as a result, the bumblebee flies. Be like a bumblebee. Avoid television for a few days, a few months, a few years. And you will find that the expectation that society places on you to be funny, to be rich, to be wealthy, to be kind, to care about the environment, and all the nonsense is something you avoid. If you can, even more importantly, avoid social media. Avoid social media. Until you've regained a position of superior courage about how you view yourself, avoid social media. The constant comparison with other people. I was raised, and I should say this, I was raised by two incredible parents. Absolutely great father, fascinating, encouraging, loving mother. We were raised poor. There were times and days when we ate once in a day, and it was a great day. We never lacked for love, companionship. We never lacked intimacy. Character development, we never lacked. Sometimes we lacked money. But we were trained not to look to other people, not to covet someone else's gains or aspirations. We were taught to honor people who had more than we did and to learn from them. We were taught to work hard, to strive, to overcompensate with good attitude, good behavior, good morals, and hard work. We were told to show up every day. We were told that whenever we saw an opportunity that we should not wait, we should give it our best. We were told, my father said, that there are fat times and lean times, and that sometimes you'd have to sweat for the money you want, but you must create value for other people. And even if you create value and it doesn't return, do not wave your hand towards the heavens and do not curse the people. Your supply will come not from the soil where you've sown, but sometimes and most times from other sources at and in the right season. That was my upbringing. And so I grew up not trying to think about what other people had. Therefore, I was never, and I have never had the need to be on social media. I don't care what life you're leading. I just wish you success, peace, happiness, prosperity, and good health. I wish the same for myself. I don't have to place you next to mine and compare you every single day. Avoid that. Number 6, if you do not have that already, get a job. Now, I talked about starting a business. That's something you do as a side hustle. From 9 to 5, you should be employed, especially if you're not in school. From 5:30, 6 p.m. to midnight, you should be deploying yourself to your business. 9 to 5, you're employed. You're learning the opportunity to master a skill, hone a craft at someone else's expense. Learning from a master, developing your apprenticeship through someone else's time, resources, connections, abilities. Get yourself a job. And I talk about 9 to 5, but here is the reality. You should be working close to 60 hours every single week. 9 to 5 is 8 hours every single day, 8 hours a day, In a week, it's 40 hours. You have 20 more hours to work. That means you either do on Sunday or you do on Saturday or both. That means you're doing another 10 hours at the weekend, in addition to building your business. You see, those who are depressed, generally speaking, are bored. They have too much time on their hands. They're lazy. You have too much food in your belly. When you have too much food, you start to worry and indulge in fanciful imaginings. Those who are hungry understand the importance of going out into the marketplace and exchanging your labor, your knowledge, your skill, your gifts, your talents for food. People who are hungry are usually not susceptible to the Western notions of depression and mental health. They simply want food, and they will do whatever it takes. So find out, in this particular case, in your life, are you bored? Do you have too much time on your hand? Number 7. You need to discover your purpose. My first book, I called it The Best Chance. The first chapter of the book, I talked about purpose. I've always believed that the master key that unlocks every single key to your life, or door, or adventure, is your purpose. Understanding why you were born. What is your task? What are the assignments? What is that calling? What is calling? What is that voice you can hear? What is it calling you to? And at the core is you have a limited amount of time to solve a problem. What is that problem? So become a masterful problem solver. Now, many people get frustrated and therefore anxious and depressed, in their words, not my words, because they don't know their purpose. In my book, I make reference to the fact that you don't choose your purpose, you discover it. And there are clues, signs that can lead you towards that purpose. What gets you angry? Anger is a clue to something that you can help alleviate, especially when that anger relates to pain and suffering that other people share. What makes you angry? There's a problem, something you see and you want to solve. What makes you happy? And that happiness is not the happiness based on feelings. It's happiness knowing that you've actually provided a better life, a better experience for other people. People say money doesn't make you happy. Idiots. Only idiots say that. Absolute idiots. The purpose of money is not to make you happy. Should be obvious. The purpose of money is that you have the opportunity and have a tool to help alleviate the sufferings of other people. By alleviating the sufferings of other people, you create joy and happiness for them, the byproduct of which, pressed down, shaking over, running over, some of the happiness you create for other people comes back to you. If you have money and you're not happy, it means you don't know where and how to shop. Maybe that's something you should learn, because I know for a fact that having just a little bit of money can make a huge difference in people's lives, people who do not have the opportunity to teach, to guide, to mentor, to coach, to provide for people who are less fortunate is a joy. So get rich. You're depressed? Get rich. Not for what the money will buy, but for 2 reasons. In pursuing that wealth, you have to become a person of a certain character and nature. And you have to become someone that you are not currently. Pursue wealth to see who you can develop into as a human being. And that pursuit is what we call personal development and growth and learning. You grow into someone you never knew existed. You bring into the world. In other words, you go from being Saul to Paul. For some people, the things you used to hate, you now love. And the things you used to love, you now hate. Pursue wealth also for what you might be able to do to alleviate sufferings of people who are less fortunate than you. At the core is you're looking for problems to solve, you're looking for that purpose, you're looking for that magnificent obsession. Your energy is a clue to what you're called to do, whether that energy is through passion or pain. You would also find that when you discover what you're supposed to do, you're not exhausted. Physical exhaustion will come, the body needs to be renewed, you need rest and recovery, but your spirit will be doing what it's supposed to do. A bird flies without being tired per se, because the bird is flying because it's created to fly. A fish swims, and yes, every now and then they need to rest, but they do not get tired because they were born created to swim. When you discover your purpose, you find something that your soul and spirit was created to do. Number 10, if I'm correct. There are two ways of learning in life. You can learn from your mistakes, or you can learn from mentors, people's lives. You can combine both. Now, I said two ways, specifically for a reason. Yes, there's a third, which is a combination of both, but most people have a vivid memory of, I can do things myself and learn. If you learn from your experiences, we call that we call that PE, personal experiences. Learning from your personal experiences will come with pain, and it would mean the exchange of your time, a resource that you have in limited supply, and therefore the pain sometimes may be unbearable. You can also learn from other people's experiences, which is, in my opinion, the best way to gain wisdom, to gain understanding, to gain experience, is to look into the lives of other people. In a book, well written and well read, you can learn in 4 hours what took a person 40 years to learn. So, vicarious learning and reading and studying and coaching can lead you to a better life because you're not using your mistakes as a currency. You're choosing other people's mistakes, you're avoiding those mistakes, and you're applying their successes. And when done correctly, you accelerate your path to a success and a better life. You can do the same. A mentor and a coach is something you need. For some reason, most young men and men in the middle age do not like to invest in a coach, a mentor, someone to guide you, someone to structure you. You have friends, yes, but friends are those who love you just as you are. They will love you no matter what happens. Those are your friends. A mentor, a coach, sometimes is someone you either pay or you do not pay, but these are people who have come to look at you and say, I've known a little bit about you, and I think it's a disservice for me to love you. I'm going to choose like. They like you too much to leave you the way you are. So they give you advice. Sometimes they risk losing the relationship, but they will not sacrifice their honesty and dedication to who you could be. A friend loves you in the present and you from your past. A mentor loves the potential that you could become, the future you. And they put that future you over your current self. They're looking to take you from where you are to where you should be. You need mentors, you need coaches, and you need people. It's about time you pulled out some money and stop trying to get things for free. Good coaches will cost you money. Sometimes The currency of exchange may not be money. It could be your time. It could be some other means of transacting with them. They want to see that you're a good student. You need a coach. Now let me close some of my recommendations with the following. I have said before, you get help. If you feel depressed, if that's the word you choose, if you believe in depression, if that's the God you choose, I'll let you have it. But if you feel overwhelmed, get help. We're spiritual beings. We live in a physical body. We have a mind. So you need help in 3 levels: spiritual, mental, physical. More damage is done in the West on the mental level than ever. And it will get worse. I have had the opportunity to be close to the industry, so I speak with some knowledge here. In the UK, the National Health Service, over the past decade and a half, have gone on a binge of mental health and depression. Prescription, forgive me, prescription has become the watchword. Most issues that people face are social, relational, familial, individualistic. It's a lack of love. It's a lack of accountability. It's a lack of direction. It's a lack of faith. It's a lack of structure. It's a lack of delayed gratifications. And sometimes it's the sins of the fathers and the mothers. The NHS has chosen a prescription route. Just a few more pills. Just to get you out of the door as soon as you walk in. Why? Because they're overwhelmed with the need for medical attention. Some of them realize that they cannot help undo decades and years of suffering. So just prescribe that drug and send them back into the field. And who knows, maybe they'll become addicted and therefore we just have to give them more drugs. Or maybe they might not make it back. My final advice will come as a shock. Please avoid professional medical help, psychiatrists, psychologists who prescribe. Now let me make it very clear. Avoid professional medical assistance by physicians and clinicians who prescribe drugs to you as a first step to your counseling process. I've been very careful with my words. There are good doctors, there are ignorant doctors, there are bad doctors. The system is the problem, not the doctors always. The system will not be fixed in the next 30 years. You will see more instances of depression and mental health and addiction to medicated drugs. Almost 35% of people under 50 in the UK are on some psychiatric medication. When I say under 50, that number goes as low as 5, 6, 7 years old. They're prescribing us to oblivion. Avoid physicians and clinicians who prescribe medication on the first basis of helping you recover. But here's the second part of that long statement. Avoid them until you've done the first 10 or 11 items that I've talked about. Here is the reason. Everything I've shared so far puts you in the responsibility seat. It makes you say, it's not my father or my mother, it's me, O Lord, standing in the need of prayer. I will do for myself what no other person is willing to do for me. I will take responsibility. I'm going to go through my bodies of water. I will go through the Jordan. But before I get to the Jordan, I will go through the Reed Sea. And along the way, I will be free. But I would have to take responsibility. There will be pain, but I will endure. And when I've gone through all of the steps that Mentor has shared, 1 to 11, 1 to 10, whatever the number is, if I have failed, then maybe I can then go and seek medical attention. Prioritizing those who want to go through the holistic approach of helping me recover rather than the prescription approach of helping me recover. Now, in this conversation today, I spoke mostly to the self within you. I didn't talk about the physical ways of getting yourself back, despite me talking about the military and martial arts. But exercise is an important component of a good life. Emotion flows from motion. Motion creates emotion, and the right emotions will create motion. Sometimes you just have to get out there and dance. Learn to dance. I recommend this to most people. There are dances that allow you to learn and develop. Take you out of your comfort zone and have fun. Kizomba, bachata, merengue, salsa, Cuban salsa, son, and many more. You're dancing with a partner, you're dancing in a group, you become part of a community, people who come together on a particular day to practice, and then go out on particular nights to then dance. You do practice sessions, 1 hour, 2 hours, and afterwards you have half an hour for practice. You change partners, you're learning new things, you're learning new skills, you're learning how to interact with people. You're getting out of the basement. You're making friends. You're making friends. You go out to the dance floor and people see you, take the first step and you're worried, you're nervous, your heart is beating. You ask a lady for a hand for a dance, or you the lady ask a guy and you're not sure whether he can lead you, but then you simply say, I'm just going to go with the flow and enjoy the dance and the music. You need to learn how to have fun and enjoy your life. It's a short life, but it can be a life well lived. It's a short life, but it can be a life well lived. Now, if all of these have been helpful for you, then put them into action. Don't just be a hearer of the word, be a doer. If it doesn't apply to you, then share it with someone who you think might need it. And here's a better thing, as has been my experience. Share it with everyone you know. I have come to find that lots of people who suffer do so in silence. The most lonely people I have met are the ones who've been in relationships. I have seen them break down in front of me, and I haven't been shocked, but I've been surprised that it took so long. Sometimes if you're intuitive enough, you can see that there's something amiss. Share this with people across the board, not because my mannerism and my delivery has been the most succinct or the most nice, has not been peaceful. Share it because you care, like a mentor. You care too much to leave them the way they are. And you know so little about where they actually are. So you effectively, it's like throwing a dart in the dark. Maybe you might be right, forgive me, and maybe you might be wrong. It's an asymmetric decision on your part to simply share. You lose nothing. The worst case is they do not like the conversation. But the best case could be you save a life, you save someone from pain and hurt, and you show them the way. Many years ago, and here I close, I started to study theology. And I heard something from someone who I thought was perhaps one of the best ways of explaining why I teach. I don't teach because I want to make money. I don't make money from teaching. I don't teach because I want followers. Well, Jesus had 12. One was a rebel, so he had 11. If I have more than Jesus, I'm doing well. I started teaching because I went through my own experiences of pain and struggle and sorrow. And on one particular evening, here is the key word. On one particular evening, I'm in a state of pain. Pain from every single corner. Financial, economics, mental, emotional. Nothing is working. I'm trying my best. And then I pick up a book. The book was in my house. And I start to read. And as I read the book, I notice something fascinating. Tears are rolling down my cheeks, my eyes. And I'm stunned now. I'm stunned that I didn't realize that I was crying. But I'm shocked at, oh shit. And it dawned on me that something in the book resonated with me. At the same time, I go from pain to gladness. Why? Because I realized I found answers. Answers brought joy. I found answers. I found a solution. The pain came back. Why? Because I realized the same book had been on my shelf in my room for years. What a life. Could have been avoided. The pain and the suffering. Yes, things happen for a reason. Another BS. But pain and suffering sometimes are unnecessary. In a few minutes, I realized that the author of the book had shared their experiences, very similar to mine, but they had shared their solutions. That began the journey, in my case, of personal learning and development. So I define the joy and the journey of sharing in a Christian way. Christianity is simply one beggar telling another beggar where they got some bread. That is the call I put to you. You may not need the bread. Over the next 30 years, the cases and the occurrence of mental health and depression will be exponential. This is the time for sowing the seed. Start prepping people you know and sharing without cause, so that that seed that has been sown into the fabric of our society, modern society, for about 30 years does not germinate. It will get worse. The family structures are breaking down. Our institutional safeguards are dissolving. Things will get worse. In the words of a great author, let me leave you with the following. You might find that your journey and your purpose is intrinsically connected to other people's journeys and their purposes. Yours might simply to be the one who shows them the light. You show them the way. It's like driving on the motorway. There are signs. Exit junction 13 for X. You might just be that sign that is simply saying, this is the direction to your destination, and please turn left. Now, I hope that's been useful.